Muredi, our political affairs reporter, joins us, and Patrick Munene, Chukwuemeka Mangombe, member of parliament, joins us to speak about state of the nation. So can you just break this down for us? This is the sixth one, and obviously a lot of things are expected from this speech. Most important is corruption, and if the president has a concrete plan. The other thing we expect is unity. That's from my end. From your end, having covered parliament all this while, what do you think will be in that speech?
Well, Ken, thank you very much, and welcome to Parliament. I can at least say that. And one of the things that you've said that is actually very critical is how the president is going to talk about this issue and this monster that is corruption. Remember, it has featured since 2014 when he first gave the State of the Nation address. But remember, if the president does not come up with concrete reasons as to why, or concrete solutions as to how we can combat this corruption menace, then it will not be any different from what we've been hearing since. Remember, 2 years ago, President Uhuru Kenyatta came with a memorandum that he had been given by the EACC. And in that memorandum, it contained names of cabinet secretaries, PSs, members of parliament, and so on, and also people from different backgrounds who had been implicated in one way or another in corruption issues. But what happened to that? The EACC later on started investigations, names were taken to court, and some of these convictions, or some of these names that had been forwarded, some of these people have already been cleared, or they have already even moved on to other duties in life. Look at the people like Charity Ngilu. She had been mentioned with regards to corruption when she was Minister Lands. Right now, she's the governor for Kitui. And some of these things, even I remember President Uhuru Kenyatta once again came and said, and actually had a sitting with some of these investigative agencies at State House. And he asked them, you guys, this and this is still happening. You gave me a list. I went to Parliament, read the list, and nothing has happened so far. And President Uhuru Kenyatta was even asking Kenyans, what do you want me to do? Because the laws that are there are restricting me so much, and what is happening is that I am helpless when it comes to this. So what will President Uhuru Kenyatta be doing? We have heard so much, even in these corridors of Parliament where I am most of the time. There are those who are of the view that President Uhuru Kenyatta is today going to come up with very radical proposals with regards to fighting graft.
Do you think we will hear more names, or the president will be more careful this time around to mention names?
He has to be very careful, Ken. He has to really be very careful. What remedy is he going to give Kenya as a country and Kenyans and all the people that are in this country, Kenya, with regards to the remedy of corruption? Remember, President Uhuru Kenyatta has also been able to achieve so much, or to some others who he has not been able to achieve any, since he joined hands with Raila Odinga.
Okay, especially the unearthing of graft, and also your point is, today we must get a concrete plan from President Uhuru Kenyatta. And there's a joke, Honorable Munene, there's a joke that I saw yesterday on social media, and they've already preempted what the president will say today. And it was very funny because they say the president is going to warn the corrupt people. Essentially, it's becoming a song to Kenyans for them even to have said that. But that is one thing we expect. What else do you think will be in this speech?
Thank you. First, I wish to say, if Kenyans started joking about something, it means they have heard about it for too long. Because when we started, and my friend Kennedy said very well, that we expect today that the president will talk about corruption. So it's about talking about corruption. If you listen to anybody tells you, we expect the president to talk about corruption. The president has been talking about corruption. The president warned the people. The president mentioned the people. I think it's that time the president cracked the whip, because we can't just continue like this. And as a member of parliament, I wish to say two things. One, there has been this notion that Jubilee members of parliament don't support the fight against corruption. But I wish to say that as a member of parliament, coming in parliament through the Jubilee party, the people who elected me expected development. And there can't be development with such corruption in this country. So today, as a Kenyan, first not as a member of parliament, I expect the president to make his actions work. Not just talk at one at say, because this is government. Jubilee is his government, it's not Raila Odinga's government. So if the president will be known, will have a legacy of nothing so much corruption and not working on it, then we'll go home with a legacy of the most corrupt government. And this is his government.
So you're saying even for you as a member of parliament, you're already concerned with what is going to be said. But in 2012, one of the things that, in 2014, sorry,
Yes.
one of the things that the president spoke about at that point, if you remember very well, was corruption. 2015, there was a list, right? 2016, same thing, but remember 2016, we're heading into the election. 2017, 2018, and 2019. Honestly, there can't be anything about the state of the nation that does not include corruption, Mheshimiwa.
And I think Kennedy has listed very well that we had a list in Parliament. And he gave an example of my friend Honorable Charity Gill, who is the governor today. Today he is a close ally to the president, even after all that mentions. We mentioned Governor Waiguru. Everybody who has ever been mentioned in corruption in this country ends up in a higher office than the office he or she occupied before. So in this country, it looks as if corruption is a stepping stone to becoming a senior person.
Okay.
And I don't want to blame the president in this, because the president does not elect leaders. It's we Kenyans who elect corrupt leaders. They are mentioned, and when they are mentioned, we promote them.
So in essence, you're saying that we are a corrupt state and we should actually accept it as it is right now. You know, that is a serious indictment on Kenyans, Mheshimiwa, when you say that it is us who, as Kenyans, who elect these leaders. So in other words, you're saying that we should live with what we have and actually adopt it as part of the national values of Kenya.
I had a member of parliament actually on sidebar the other day who said we should legislate and make something about corruption being legal in this country.
No, really, I think the president has a golden opportunity to do two things. One, the president has a golden opportunity to fight corruption in this country, because for once you have a president who is being supported across the board. I've listened to the deputy president, who is his deputy. He says he supports the fight against corruption. I've listened to the leader of opposition, Raila Odinga, the opposition leader. They support the fight against corruption. So now, what is hampering the president from fighting corruption? Everybody is supporting him.
And Mheshimiwa, in your mind, what concrete steps do you think the president perhaps will address this afternoon? What will he say? Muredi says we need concrete, and he says that probably there will be names, probably there will be institutions announced. But in your mind?
I think we need not go to the names so fast, because what normally happens in this country is we tarnish and destroy people's career by just dropping names.
Okay.
The president needs to work on the agencies that should assist him fight corruption. That is the DCI, that is the EACC, the bodies, the organs that are given the mandate to fight corruption. I think they are the ones who are feeling the president.
Okay.
Because the president will forward him, after he forwards the name, 2 years down the line, they are cleared, they are free. So you continue dropping names. So I think the institutions that are helping the president are failing.
With benefit of doubt, Mheshimiwa, before I go to Ken, with benefit of doubt, in 2015 when the names were dropped, no office holder currently existing was there. So we can, for his credit, we can give him that, right? Because in 2015 we didn't have the DCI Kinoti, we didn't have the DPP Haji, and we didn't have the person at EACC.
You know, I support the fight against corruption, but what is happening currently, the president needs to tame these are the bad.
Okay.
You know, when I see the DCI in every media show, holding rallies, I think I'm getting worried. And they might fail the president once again. I think the president needs to handle his people. The DCI is my brother, is a good guy. I think the director of public prosecution is a good guy. But at this point in time, I think they have got it on a long footing. I think there is so much activism about corruption that they got excited about it. It's the right time they stop getting excited about it and help the president fight corruption.
Ken, before I got into media, this issue on corruption was being reported. I am in the media. And what I ask myself is every day is that also there is so much onus that has been placed on the president. Everybody is looking towards the president to provide solutions on how we are going to fight corruption. But Ken, there's a question that we are not asking ourselves as Kenyans. Do we have inadequacy of laws? Do we have the laws that we need as a country to fight corruption? Remember, Patrick Munene is the member of parliament for Chuka-Gamba-Ngombe. Apart from representing the people of Chuka-Gamba-Ngombe in this particular house, also has the prerogative, together with 358 other members in the National Assembly and 67 in the Senate, have the prerogative to look at where there are gaps and legislate on them. But remember, there is also another saying that goes that we do not have.
We're not short of laws.
We are not short of laws.
We're not short of laws.
So
yes. We have good laws.
the bodies that have been tasked with implementing these laws, the bodies that are tasked with making sure that Kenya is not a corrupt state, are they working as they should be working? That's another question that we should actually be asking ourselves, because look at it. One of the things that we're looking towards, and even it has been covered in the dailies, is that we are waiting for President Uhuru Kenyatta to provide solutions. He has already told you, mnataka nifanye nini.
Okay.
So there are those people who are failing in this fight against corruption.
In other words, I have set up the institution, I have provided
Yes,
the funds,
yes.
I have
There's
put in
budget
people
for that.
in there
There are
who I
people
believe,
to do that.
but they're not helping me to work, right?
Yes.
Okay.
So what are we going to do with regards, should we be waiting for either President Uhuru Kenyatta or Deputy President William Ruto to be saying that, wait, I want this to be done, so that it is going to be done? Because as a country, we will be setting a wrong precedent. And also us as media, we will be reporting the same things. Just talking about media and not being on the side of the media, we even expose these corruption scandals that are there. But the people who are involved in these corruption scandals will say, okay, wacha media iandike, sisi tutaendelea, kesho tutakuwa free. The chief magistrate at Milimani, that is Douglas Ogoti, set a precedent. Mheshimiwa, you'll see. There was a precedent that was set whereby a governor was given 100 million shillings as cash bail.
And the Kenyans were very excited
And
about
Kenyans
it.
were very excited. Then the same courts have
Yeah.
gone ahead and
Less than
reduced
48
it to
hours
10,
later.
yes,
Yeah.
and reduced it to 10 million. Are we fighting going forward, or are we going back? So these are some of the questions. And also, people might ask, what is the role of media in this? We reported, and it is through our reports, that Magistrate Douglas Ogoti felt like, okay, we've been talking about corruption for so long, let me set the bar too high.
Too high, yes.
Then the bar is set high, and we bring it down.
Mumbi reviews it to something very
I-
affordable.
What do we do?
Yes.
I think, Mulede, if you see the president talking about something, and now it has come to a point where the president has to do this in person, it tells you there's somebody who is feeling. You know, if you walk into a homestead one day and find the master milking the cow, you should ask yourself, where is the shamba boy? Where are the shamba boys? It means maybe they are off or they are not working. Because now that's where the president has become the face of fighting corruption. And it should not be like that. The headaches and anti-corruption have not add up to today.
But Mheshimiwa, if the
man
ethics
in
and
charge of
anti-corruption
EFCC
was,
talk about corruption.
if they were to go out and speak, Mheshimiwa, then we'll say you're fighting corruption in the media. That's
But
all
what
you'll
are
say.
they doing now?
But Kenyans need
they are not
answers, and
talking. What are they
Kenyans need a
doing?
conversation. Kenyans need to know what's happening. So who do you want them to talk to
And
or to
finally,
listen to?
as we discuss corruption, you know, as a member of parliament, I listen to what Kenyans are saying. And the Kenyans are saying, it's good that we are fighting corruption. But as the president addresses the nation today, 2 years down the line, Kenyans expect the president to tell them about the big four and how far we have gone. How many houses have we put up so far? Because as parliament, we passed all the relevant laws that he requested us to pass. Kenyans expect to know where the universal coverage has gone so far. Kenyans expect to hear what the government is doing about the cancer. Remember, cancer is killing Kenyans right, left, and center. It's bad, Kennedy, to know that today this country established a center of excellence for cancer that has never been given a budget, that has 2 employees up to now. And the cancer is a main issue in this country. So as we talk about corruption, let's not lose focus of other things that Kenyans want to hear about.
Okay.
People are dying in Turkana. Up to now, the president has not commented. So we expect that today is an opportunity for him to comment and tell us the steps he's taking towards making sure that people won't die of hunger in this country again. Farmers are suffering. I can tell you the price of milk in this country has gone down from 36 shillings to 20 shillings. The price of coffee now is almost at 2 shillings. The price of tea now is almost at 10 shillings. Farmers are stuck in maize in Rift Valley.
Okay.
So I expect as the president addresses corruption, he needs also to address the livelihood of Kenyans, which is agriculture, which health, roads, infrastructure. They also need to feature. Let's not talk about corruption, and we forget that Jubilee had an agenda.
If you look at the speech that the president made in 2014, it also included reducing the cost of living by making the prices of basic commodities fairer. So this will not even be the first time if he was to go that direction. But the question, Mheshimiwa, is we cannot talk about development in this country without first solving the issue of corruption.
And we talk about corruption first.
Yes.
Then after we talk about corruption, and this issue of lowering the cost of goods. Kenyans are not beggars. Kenyans work hard. So don't talk about lowering bread for them, lowering sugar for them. Why don't you talk about making them able to buy? And making them able to buy is making sure that the cash crops get money, making sure that the tea goes back to where it was,
Okay.
that there's money in milk, there's money in farming, and the Kenyans will buy these things.
Okay. Can you think if we were to go that way, because it's become a song, no doubt, right? If we were to go the direction of reporting the other issues around the development of people, would we succeed?
It's two-pronged, Ken. If you do and go report about how development is being witnessed in some parts of the country, you will be told that you have been bought by state. But if you go, and I come from a county, I come from Nairobi, I come also from where I come from in Meru County, and we've been able to go back, and you also come from somewhere, and we've seen what devolution has been able to do. But the corruption stories that come are actually overshadowing the good things that are happening. Because you will hear that a governor has done 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 things to either benefit himself or cronies that are near to him. And what they have been able to do is just taken aback. And that is what has been happening. But as Mheshimiwa has said, Kenyans are really hardworking. You just wake up in the morning and you will see the number of Kenyans that are going to work has doubled. I cannot authoritatively say that it has doubled, but the number of people who are going probably to work are many. But also, there are other avenues that need to be fixed. How many people in this country are paying taxes, and how many people are not paying taxes? How many are evading? Remember yesterday, and it was even in our bulletin, the Isili business community, they resulted to temporarily shutting down their businesses to protest what they do believe is their right. They are insisting that the cost of clearing goods at the port is too high.
Yes.
How are we doing as Kenyans? Remember, and I will continue saying this, last week when President Museveni was in this country and they had a press conference with President Uhuru Kenyatta at Mombasa, President Yoweri Museveni was very categorical when he said that he remembers a place called Webuye. And in this Webuye, there was pan paper. And they could access paper as Uganda from Webuye. Right now, they are paying so much money to get paper from Finland. What did we do wrong? Every year, when it is, actually, every 5 years when it is nearing an election, what do those people who are campaigning do? They go and they promise to pump in money. And the moment they pump in money into this, either the sugar sector, Mumias, or either to pan paper, a few months later we are still told either pan paper or Mumias has collapsed or has failed to pick up.
Okay.
So Ken, as much as we talk about the good things that are happening in this country, they are overshadowed by corrupt dealings.
Okay.
Because this is public money, it has been announced publicly that we are pumping 1 billion shillings. In my own region of Meru, there was money that was pumped into Mira. We've not been told where that money went to.
Okay. Okay. Good example. And the conversation continues right here at the National Assembly grounds. And we will definitely be looking into the other issues that needs to be talked about this afternoon by President Uhuru Kenyatta. Key among them, devolution and the successes of devolution. And suffice to say, Ken and Mheshimiwa, devolution was one of the things that President Uhuru Kenyatta spoke about authoritatively in 2014 when we began. We take a short break right here. The State of the Nation continues. We'll be speaking to the several issues that cut across that are of importance to you when we come back after this short break. What President Kenyatta will be speaking on in regards to the first state of corruption. Many arrests, investigations, and prosecution cases have been witnessed in the past months. Some have been high level, some not so high. Some have created criticism of investigation agencies and political leaders. The head of state has, in many occasions, issued warnings and for his administration, with some Kenyans feeling that they have not amounted to much. Will they make any major pronouncements on the same today, matter which has teamed up with politics of the handshake between President Uhuru Kenyatta and ODM leader Raila Odinga. Now, this is so deep that it has seen the president and his deputy, William Ruto, stand on the opposing ends. Now, their allies have been throwing jabs at each other and even directing criticism at the top two. Plus, the new relationship between President Kenyatta and ODM leader Raila Odinga, which has also been defended, and President Kenyatta has defended that handshake that was last year, March, and their newfound relationship. Will this, if any, make anything as shaking this afternoon when the pronouncements are made and that speech is made by President Kenyatta? Let's talk about the economy now. And the economy is going through a number of challenges and dynamics, with President remaining adamant that the country will continue borrowing in spite of the huge bills that we have and the wage bill, obviously, and the amount of money that we owe the nation. So even amid the concerns that over 5 trillion shilling debt is growing too heavy to bear for the taxpayers, the cost of living is up. Small and medium-sized enterprises are scared by the interest rates capping that has choked their businesses because they could hardly access credit. What is the way forward in the economy? That is also something that we really like to hear from President Kenyatta this afternoon. Let's talk about health now. And the president is likely to be speaking also in the Big Four, with the specific areas that he mentioned in the Big Four still facing a myriad of challenges. The plan to have the universal healthcare is facing huge challenges of access to some areas, with drug shortages in others, and clinics that have not been really stocked with drugs. And you remember also the idling clinics at Mombasa that were procured at a huge cost on the taxpayers. Nothing to speak about that. Now, the cost of healthcare is still higher than many can afford. What treatment will be given to the healthcare? That is something that we are also keen to hear. All right, then the manufacturing sector is also likely to feature prominently in enhancing manufacturing. There remains the stark challenge of unemployment, especially among the young people, the youth specifically, and corruption still rearing its face. How will this and other issues be addressed? And before we end this, in the agenda is the agenda rather to have the country achieve food and nutrition security. That agenda, there is still some difficulty, and obviously there is the drought. We're talking about people dying in Turkana. We're talking about Baringo. Now, the president has not spoken about this situation, and we expect the president to be speaking about that specifically. Now, his officials have denied that there are deaths attributed to hunger. Will the address specifically have those issues in it? Will he speak to the plight of those who year after year continue rely on aid? And finally, the other agenda 4 is the majority of Kenyans who do not own houses. This is the housing, but many would like to really have houses. The government plans to facilitate affordable housing amid high cost of land, material. Developers who would rather put up high-end houses instead of affordable houses for many. Will the speech include more than a reiteration of the already mentioned issues? Now, many issues to be addressed, greater expectations and hopes of many Kenyans in this address today on the State of the Nation, the 6th, a speech that will offer solid direction and confidence. And as the discussions will be evolving, we would also like to know what else. So, Mheshimiwa, let's get back to our discussion. I was expecting Mheshimiwa Odege to come here. He will be joining us shortly, but let's bring this discussion to devolution now. Devolution was one of the things that President Kenyatta said in 2014 that he will ensure succeeds. We know the Constitution demands for 15%. They put this at 32%. But the story is not even upping it to 32%. The story is the disbursements, which is not usually adequate. And at the end of the day, the counties are only able to probably fund the recurrent expenditure, but not development. Let me begin with Mheshimiwa on this.
I think we normally say that give credit where it's due. I think President Uhuru Kenyatta, having taken over government immediately after promulgation of the new constitution, and with the devolution being a big agenda and a big task to undertake, I think he has done well. Because setting up the 47 counties and the achievement you have seen so far, I think I want to give the president and his deputy an echo there and say they have done well. But the problem is not the amount of money that goes to the county government. It's what it does when it goes there. Because as we continue talking about corruption, I think currently we've been talking about only 2 dams where we think it was corruption. And the Kenyans' eyes are closed over those dams. And we have forgotten that we devolve so much money to county governments. And I think the problem in the county government is, to one, there's so much corruption in county government and long prioritization of issues. And secondary is the structure we passed for county government. The structure is so bulky, from the governor, from the deputy, from the CECs, the chief officers, 1,000 directors, administrators all over. So all the money we devolve and give the governor ends up 3/4 paying salaries. And it's not the governor doing, because that's the structure. It requires him to have CECs, to have chief officers. It requires him to have 1,000 directors, administrators, including village. You walk to every village in the county and you are told there's a DC for the county. There's a village administrator. He has a car. He earns a big salary. So I think it's that time we came back to devolution now and checked the gains we have earned and looked at it. Did we get it right? Because devolution is a good idea. But now we need to evaluate. We need to do an evaluation of the structures. Because you give a governor 4 billion, 3.2 billion goes to salaries at the current expenditure.
But Ken, even as Mheshimiwa says that there's too much wastage at the county levels, I also cover governance, but we also must appreciate the fact that counties have been able to make strides in the right direction, Ken. For the first time in 6 years, 2 counties have been able to get, is it called unqualified or qualified opinion, have been able to get a clean audit. 2 counties, that is the county of Nyandarua and the county of Makueni. 15 or 20 other counties have been able to rise up the ladder, including his county, that is Tharaka Nithi, and they have been able to get what is called a qualified audit. What does this mean? This means that counties have been able, through the Auditor General, have been able to account for some of the money that is given to them, and they are now putting it to prudent use.
Do
we mean that there are questions that are not there? Yes, questions are there. But by the fact that 6 years into devolution, and counties have been able to make that step and move in the right direction, then that means, yes, there is wastage, and I want to agree with you, there is wastage in the counties, but they are moving towards something whereby they can account for the monies that they have been given to them. The counties that have adverse opinion have been able to see that list from the committee of the Senate that is tasked with this. The counties that are having adverse have gone down. That means that they are able to account to this money. But I'm not refusing that there are challenges, as you say.
Kennedy, I've listed 2 issues. I think you are listing your own issue. I've listed 2 issues. One, I've said there is wastage in county government. 1, due to corruption. 2, due to the bulky structure that we give them through the constitution. And 3, due to long priorities. You can get a clean bill. Nyadalwa can get a clean bill, but they got a clean bill doing what? You get a clean bill buying things that are not a priority to your people. So it's not a matter of getting a clean bill from the Auditor General. The most important thing is getting a clean bill from people's satisfaction. Did you give people health? Did you give them water? Because you can get a clean bill, because you went for a trip and you are able to account for it. You bought a car battery, you are able to account for it. You bought things that the community didn't want, you are able to account for it. That's what we call a clean bill. But I think it's that time that county government prioritize the things that affect the common man. And not county government only, including national government. I sit in the other committee where we have been saying this country does not need very expensive high-end equipment. This, in the other sector, this financial year only, the national government is spending almost over 10 billion buying high-end equipment. The people in Turkana, the people in Saburu, the people in Tharaka Nithi don't need high-end equipment. They need basic drugs in the health center. They need nurses. But what the government gives them is a machine worth 200 million. It has no palita, it has no nurse, there are no drugs. So I think it's that time we put our priorities right, Ken, and we'll do well.
Okay. I agree with you 100%. I agree, Ken. You will be surprised that, our office is very clear. Ken has a headache, he can walk into the HR department and probably get Panadol, and he'll be able to run through the day. Instead, there are some people, as Mheshimiwa is saying, that if we do actually get the priorities right, then there's a probability that we'll be able to fix so many things. Ken, you even asked about the levels of borrowing we have in the country. But you'll be surprised that it is not only at the government level, but it is a culture that we have as Kenyans. We have a borrowing culture, and when we borrow, we are not putting this money into the use that it is supposed to be put into. Ken, I will tell you, and you can attest to this, 90% of the messages that you get on your phone are from companies that are opening up lending money. And they will tell you, use your logbook. Walk, drive around town. You will see a board telling you that bring your logbook, we will give you money in 24 hours. They will tell you you don't need to have 6 months bank accounts, bank statements. We will give you money, and this including the mobile phones that we have. There is one that has been developed by a local mobile telephony company, whereby if you do not have enough money on your phone, what do? You ask for more, spend it. Then the moment that you load money, that money will be deducted. Ken, that is what we are used to. That is what we are used to as Kenyans.
Okay. So the culture of borrowing notwithstanding, the performance of the counties needs to be evaluated.
Exactly.
And there is the feeling that I'd like also to address, sitting in the health committee, this is a feeling that is across the committees that are dealing with the counties specifically, that the structures of the counties have overlapping roles with the national government structure. And perhaps with 6 years gone, and since 2010, that's about 9 years, is it time that, Mheshimiwa, perhaps there are things that will be reconsidered? And if this was supposed to feature in the State of the Nation address, what angle would the president be looking at?
I think when we passed this constitution, and we Kenyans, we forget very quickly. There were two calls. One was to Lekebishe to Pitishe. Then there was the other call that won to Pitishe to Lekebishe. And we agreed, as we passed the constitution, we agreed that 20% of this constitution needs to be looked at later. Now we have implemented it 7 years down the line. It's their time now we held our audit. We had a national conference to look at the constitution and look at the things that have worked for us and those that have not worked for us. And I've given an example. One, the structures of the county government are too bulky. And most of those laws that we give to county government and Kenyans, because I had another governor saying again, the president is talking about the devolved functions. Uhuru Kenyatta is the president of this country. He is the president of those counties. You can't divide the president to be a president of national functions. The president lands counties.
Okay. Okay. All right. Today, when we speak about devolution, we believe it will not be the usual. We have added funds, devolution is working, but perhaps also an indictment to the counties that Ken mentioned that didn't have a good report card, that they need to up their socks and move forward. Let's talk about, before I go to the agenda 4, let's talk about the state of the handshake in this country and how much of benefit that has been to, one, governance by President Uhuru Kenyatta, and secondly, the restoring the peace and tranquility and the unity in this country. And I'll begin with Ken. Ken, it's been now 1 year and some months since the handshake, actually 1 year and a month since the handshake, and there's a lot of benefit. However, this has not come at a price, right?
Yes, it has not come at a price, Ken, but you also have to realize and also understand that this issue on the handshake, one of the biggest things that the president wanted to achieve when he reached out to the opposition and when they reached out to each other is for political stability in the country. Because Kenya is known to be largely political. And if they were able to solve this to cool down the political temperatures at that time. Because remember, there was President Uhuru Kenyatta, and we also had what we call a people's president, who had been sworn in at Uhuru Park. Now, the understanding was the moment we bring down this, then President Uhuru Kenyatta will be able to go ahead and implement the Big Four, which he had already come up with. So have we been able to achieve political stability in the country? Remember, yes, to some extent, but we have already moved on from what it was all about the combative politics, but we've moved on to who is going to succeed President Uhuru Kenyatta. So are we still in politics? Yes. In some quarters, the handshake is being viewed as an avenue to block others from ascending to the presidency.
Okay.
And we've put what we needed to achieve at that particular time on the back seat, because everybody expected that President Uhuru Kenyatta, Deputy President William Ruto, opposition leader Raila Odinga will be walking to functions every day trying to call on Kenyans to support. Right now, we will probably have seen that even one of the pillars of the big four, that is housing, they would have at least gone together and even done a groundbreaking. But I'm also told right now they are at that stage whereby they are trying to tender so that they know who is going to do what. There are also people who are giving up land in some different parts of the country in the hope that they are going to partner with the government. I do not want to put a serious indictment on them,
Okay.
but what I know is that have we been able to achieve political stability?
Okay.
Are things moving? Yes, but to a certain extent, Ken.
Mheshimiwa, I'm coming back to you, but we have reporters also watching this with us, and they'll be watching this in their regions with members of the public who will also be giving their opinion later on regarding the President's State of the Nation address. And currently, Bill Otieno is back with us. He's standby from Taita Taveta Voi, now on set by Embakasi East Member of Parliament Babu Owino, who joins us to discuss with us the State of the Nation and the expectation from the speech. I'm still here with Patrick Munene from Chuka Gamangombe and Ken Murray, the political affairs reporter. And Babu, welcome. We have discussed about corruption. We're about discussing about the handshake and the benefits. But your take on corruption and how the president, probably you expect the president to address differently this afternoon.
Thank you very much, Ken. As Babu, if I were the president of this nation, today I would have made radical changes. This is the day that I would have improved or rather made Kenya great in 3 years or destroyed Kenya in the next 3 years to come. We see corruption is being fought, but it's not genuinely being fought, according to me. The other day we saw a governor being given 100 million cash bail and 150 million an alternative bond, which to me did not make sense. Judiciary has to be sober, because if we are fighting case against corruption, we must be very genuine. Let there not be just prosecution alone. Let there be convictions. We want a case, just one case, to be done to completion. Let Kenyans see that at least one case has been completed and this person has been convicted. We just don't want PRs to get headlines just for the to act as smoke screens and hoodwinking Kenyans in the name of fighting corruption. If I were the president, I would not let the judiciary do what I can do. I would sack, first of all today, I would sack all the cabinet secretaries who are perceived to be corrupt and replace them with other competent Kenyans of high integrity. Thank you.
Okay. And we saw what happened in 2015, Babu, and the list was given, and you see what happened. Do you think the president can go that way, or he should not go that way? Because that's one of the times that Kenyans had very high hopes in the presidency when he announced the names, but the outcome is known. Majority of those people, or some of them, have taken public offices, and we've not seen a conviction. So this afternoon when he addresses the nation, definitely corruption is going to feature top. But how does he address it without necessarily making the same mistake that him as the president has regretted?
I think, Ken, this is the president. And as a president, you will be loved as much as you will be hated. And for the best interest of the future generation, you have to make certain decisions which will not please other Kenyans. And other Kenyans will definitely also be pleased. As a president of this nation, you don't have to fear anything. Because all along from 2013, it's all about talks. We don't know what is happening. This is the time for the president to strike. Let him not care about what people say, but let it do this for the best interest of the Kenyan citizens. Because majority of Kenyans want a corruption-free nation. A nation that can provide employment opportunities to its youths. A nation that can recognize the value of women in the society. A nation that will ensure that there's prosperity in the foreseeable future.
Okay.
As a president, let him make a decision and strike irrespective of what a person will say.
Okay. And he's made that clear regardless, my political ally, my mother, my brother, my all of them. So that's good. But let's talk about the handshake, Mheshimiwa, unless you have something to add on
I
corruption.
think one thing I need to say that I think we all agreeing. Even my brother Babu is agreeing that corruption is being fought, but not in the light way. And that's what we have been saying since we started the show. And it is a very important point that for the first time we need to see not only prosecution but convictions. But you know, getting a conviction in a court of law in Kenya today, we don't live in a jungle. We live in a country that has laws, a country that is guided by a constitution. And I'm sure this is where the president is stuck. And that's why I go back to where I started again. The organs that are supposed to fight corruption in this government, do they do quality investigations? Because what normally happens, and that's why you see the president ends up being a balance. The president will come today and eat to the cry of the people and the mob justice that we want, and suspend cabinet secretaries. But 1 year, 2 years down the line, they are all cleared because the quality of investigations that was done was poor. So what I want to say is, as much as we want convictions, as much as we want the president to sack people, the organs that have been mandated to fight corruption in this country needs to up their game and needs to give the president quality results.
Ken, before you move on from this discussion, something has just come up to me. There is this president, probably will help me remember the country. There is this president whom the country was so immersed in matters, drugs and drug lords, that one of the things that they did when they came into office is that they even came under very sharp criticism from the human rights, and the cartels were dismantled. It was so bad that you would wake up one morning and just find bodies strewn on the street, because that is the only way that he saw fit to deal with these cartels. What radical things do we expect President Uhuru Kenyatta to do today? Both members of parliament are in the parliament, and they are saying that they do expect President Uhuru Kenyatta to be very radical with this regards. So, if anything had to happen, then President Uhuru Kenyatta and Kenyans and all the investigative agencies that we do have in the country have to change tact. Where I disagree with Mheshimiwa Babu Owino is he says that it was ingenuine for the courts to give a 100 million fine. Is it something that is achievable? We do not know whether that governor had it, but the shock that I saw in that courtroom on that day, because I was there, everybody first of all went quiet, and they were murmuring to each other, did he say 10 million or did he say 100 million? So if the bar is set that high, what do? You discourage. That is something radical. That is what we need to see.
That's okay.
I think I would love to disagree with my brother. You know, if the bar is set that high, then people will steal more to prepare for the cash bail.
Okay.
So it means that it will encourage corruption.
You don't think it will deter corruption?
If somebody will be stealing, he will ensure that he gets more to keep some for the cash bail and some for himself.
Okay.
What I'm advocating for is not idea of the cash bail or even the bond. I'm advocating for conviction. Let there be convictions. That's when we will believe that somebody that genuinely corruption is being fought. Such institutions like the DCI, the DPP, so far they are doing a good job. There's some genuineness in them. They are doing a good job. But some people in high offices are taking advantage of this.
Okay. Okay. I know that's a discussion that if we want to have, we'll have it until cows come home.
How many people would want to steal 100 million
shillings? Because it
won't be known. 100 million shillings is not pocket change.
You know, I've seen in other media, my brother Babu has already stated his stand on this matter, that he stands with the governor was treated badly. But
my brother,
I think it's that time the buy is
my brother,
so high.
You know, people may construe this to mean that Babu is supporting corruption. I'm not supporting corruption. What I'm supporting is that let there be sobriety in the judicial system, such that even if you are let free on a free cash bail or free bond, but there is a conviction, that means that you are confident enough that there's enough evidence to pin this person down if indeed stole the money.
And the terms of bail, for example, the governor cannot access his office. Does that also concern you? Because again, he has to work for the people of Samburu, Babu.
You know, genuinely, we also have to be very objective. I'm speaking as a law student and as a lawyer. You know, everybody is innocent till proven guilty. And again, I'm stating that I'm not supporting corruption. But you are innocent till proven
Ken,
guilty.
Ken,
For example, my situation, my brother,
Yes.
when I was arrested, you saw what happened. First of all, I wasn't taken to court within 24 hours, which is unconstitutional. Then they put the high bonds, the cash bill that they gave me was too high. This made me sleep in the cells from one cell to the other. So I was reasoning as a person who's already been arrested. They were arbitrary arrest.
At least you're
so
not arrested for corruption.
Let there be
You
no
would have
malice.
had the money.
And I will never be arrested for corruption,
yes.
because I'm a very clean Kenyan citizen. But what I'm fighting for is that let us convict. Let us convict. Let us not just arrest.
Okay.
Because arrest has been made even years before.
Let us go to
But
court
they
where
go
we have
nowhere.
enough evidence.
Enough
that
evidence
can
to
sustain a
convict.
conviction.
Yeah, that's what we are
Yes.
saying.
Yes.
The culture of mob justice. Because like today, if you listen to the mood of the people, is a mob justice culture. At let the president sack, let the president do. But you sack people today, the following day we are paying them. The amount of money this country is paying in fines because of cases we took to court not prepared. It's so much. We're already losing so much money. Paying people. You are taken to court today, Babu. There was not enough investigation. Then you want to be paid by the government. So the amount of money we are wasting because of lashing people to court, I think what the president should be doing, because now I think the DCI, they are doing a good job. What he needs to be doing now is to say that by end of this month, I need a complete file on this case. Because we need to move on. We can't keep on talking.
I need to ask a final question on this. Babu, you don't think this will act as a deterrent? You think it will encourage more?
You see, the moment you pay your cash bill, that money will be given back, whether you are convicted or you are not convicted or you are freed. So it is like just putting money in place of where you ought to have been. If you don't have the money, you will go to jail. But by the end of the day, for the governor, if he's stolen that much,
We come back and finish the
I think
discussion.
what I need to say about the handshake, one, is that everybody supports the handshake. I don't think there's any Kenyan who doesn't support the handshake, because all of us Kenyans love peace. There's no, my brother Babuino today is jobless. That's why you see he's so bored, because the handshake led that so many people jobless. Babu today will be a very popular man in this town.
I think.
But the handshake at the stairs of Arambe Avenue gave him time to go back and work for the people of Bakazi. And now he's a busy working member of parliament. So we all support Adishik. But what I wish to say, and what I wish to categorically deter, is this thing of telling us that if it were not for Adishik, there would be bloodshed in this country. I've heard that statement so many times, and I don't support it. That if you lose an election in this country, until there is an Adishik, because we are setting a bad president, because we are going to an election in 2022, and somebody will lose.
We expect
and
the same thing. Yes.
So if somebody loses or wins, there is bloodshed until you have Adishik. In your own constituency, you defeated somebody. So unless you call them and Adishik them, there is bloodshed in Embakasi.
So they can also make your life miserable, even in terms of governance.
So we should encourage people who are threatening that I can make this president governable. Is that leadership? Until I'm given an Adishik, I'll make this president governable. And then we crap for that leader so that he doesn't make Kenya ungovernable. So you are such a serious leader that until you are conned on the table and you are a leader, you make the president governable.
President Uhuru Kenyatta said that these people got even 48% of the votes.
Which means almost half of the country.
Half of the country. And he
Kennedy,
said,
if I look to America today, we didn't say calling Laila Odinga is not serving the people. The president had to make a budget for this country. He needed to work for the people of CI and this country.
I need to respond
in America
today. I need to go to Mombasa. I need to go to Mombasa and come back to you.
In America today, the president who is ruling America today, President Trump, didn't win the majority vote. People voted for Clinton. But because they respect the law of democracy, Clinton didn't say, I'll make this president governable.
The level of democracy is a little far.
So we agree we have some low level of democracy in this country?
All right. Babu, just in a minute, then I have to cross over to Mombasa. Just a response to that.
I think what Mweshimiwa said is completely wrong, because he's saying that I've been rendered jobless. You know, I was not elected to be in the streets. I was elected to serve the residents of Embakasi's constituency. And with the idea of the handshake, I would like to say that this is the best thing that happened to Kenyans. We need not to kill each other. We need to embrace each other and live in peace. Because of the handshake, at least the economy can start growing.
Yes.
Because of the handshake,
We are
employment
approaching 6%.
opportunities can be created. Because of handshake, infrastructure can be developed. And I believe that there are those who people, Mheshimiwa, I disagree with you. You are saying nobody is fighting handshake. There are those people who are fighting handshake, and we know them.
Okay.
And we need to tell them that it is high time.
Thanks, Kevin Mutai, very much. And we'll be coming back to Mombasa. NTV Sasa will be coming on air shortly after this, so they'll be speaking to Kevin Mutai too. But let me conclude my discussion here with Ken. Ultimately, Ken, in the afternoon, this speech will be delivered the 6th time. What do you expect from this speech that perhaps has not been there in the last 6 years that the speech has been delivered in Parliament?
Apart from the radical proposals that everybody is waiting President Uhuru Kenyatta to do, because what has he not done? He has already suspended people. What will he do now? Because there are also some quotas that are saying even cabinet secretaries, as we head into this 6th State of the Nation address, there are fears that probably President Uhuru Kenyatta is going to pronounce something very radical.
Okay.
The other time we expected President Uhuru Kenyatta to, and you know, in this country, if something is said, then it is coming.
Okay.
We expected probably President Uhuru Kenyatta was going to reshuffle cabinet. What did he do? He sent one cabinet secretary away who is still asking why he was fired. We expect President Uhuru Kenyatta to tell us about the state of counties. Where are we?
Okay.
We expect President Uhuru Kenyatta to tell us the state of agriculture in the country.
Okay.
Everything with regards to how do we move forward this country.
Okay.
What are the successes that we've made, and how do we as a country pull ourselves from where we are right now
to the next
and
level.
actually go to the next level.
All right, Ken. And Mheshimiwa Munene, what do you expect at the end of the day from this speech?
Thank you. As a member of parliament, as a Kenyan, and particularly also as a Jubilee member of parliament, we sat down with President Uhuru Kenyatta as we planned on how to campaign. Went loud this country with the president, promising things, selling the Jubilee manifesto agenda. Expect the president today to explain to Kenyans and to us Kenyans and even to members of parliament how far have we gone with that manifesto. Because I miss the debate we had in Jubilee. Because in Jubilee we used to have a measurable achievement debate. How many homesteads have we connected to electricity? How many kilometers of tarmac have we done? How many dispensaries have been put up? How many teachers have we employed? I expect the president to address that today, because that's the song as Jubilee people we are used to. And in the fight against corruption, nobody in this country supports corruption. Particularly as a member of parliament, I don't like it. So I expect the president to address corruption, but not to overshadow everything that we promised Kenyans.
Okay. And Babu, we have about 45 seconds for you.
I think it's high time the president should realize that he's the president of the Republic of Kenya. The only threat that the president had was Raila Amolo Odinga, who accepted to work with him through the handshake. Let him know that he's the president. Number one, let him deal with corruption decisively. We want convictions. Let him suspend or fire certain cabinet secretaries today. Number two, let the president deal with matters and employment of the youths. Number three, let the president deal with healthcare. During Kibaki's time, he's remembered for having brought free education. Let him be remembered for people having free medical healthcare.
All right. Thank you, gentlemen. And we are completely out of time. But Kennedy Mureithi will be joining Salim Swale, who will be coming up on set shortly, plus Dan Mule on NTV Sasa. And we'll be back at 1. We'll have a panel at 1:30 also ahead of the presidential State of the Nation address. And right now we take a break. NTV Sasa is on air in a few minutes. Stay with us and stay on NTV.